Our focus tonight in Plus Politics, to quote António Guterres, the United Nations Secretary General, no democracy is complete without access to transparent and reliable information. It is therefore the cornerstone for building fair and impartial institutions, holding leaders accountable and speaking the truth to power. Nigeria today joins the rest of the world to celebrate World Press Freedom Day. But what about the Freedom of Information Bill? This is Plus Politics, and I'm David Alabi. Now, democracy and political change is deeply rooted in the mass media's ability to become a major agent of political socialization. But how free and how secure is the Nigerian media? Do they have a strong role in politics? Well, that's a question that is ringing in my head. And joining me to elaborate more on this, I have with me a political affairs analyst, Soje Oganeri-Boruwe. Thank you very much for joining us. It's been quite a while, isn't it?
Thank you very much.
Well, today we're talking about World Press Freedom Day. Now, I would want to do a comparative analysis for you, and then you give me a feedback. Now, looking at the indispensable role of journalists in a democratic society vis-a-vis all of the reports of attacks, imprisonment, murder, assassination of journalists, all committing the crime of reporting. How do we marry this two and give some essence to today's celebration?
Thank you very much. It's nice to be here again. What a day to be here. And when I was thinking about journalism, a lot of things came to mind. The topic of this theme of this year's celebration basically is very, it resonated with me. The same media for democracy, right? I'm sure I'm right. I said media for democracy, and I said, oh, and elections, and disinformation.
Fake news. Fake
news. I said, what is time to celebrate? What a topic. It means it's not only a problem that is happening in Nigeria, it seems to be prevalent that the world body could bring that kind of title, so it resonates and it aligns with our current challenges. Journalism or journalists, they have been suffering repressions globally, continentally, and even in Nigeria. For the case of Nigeria, if you want us to talk about Nigeria in particular, I would say that there has not been any seeming repression. Why I say this is because, in my opinion, the press in Nigeria have been muzzled, have been so decimated that they have now been cowed that the duty, responsibility of journalism is not properly being carried out anymore, as it were, because of the fear of repression. So, that is not to say that the few times that they've tried to be professional and speak to the authority as the fourth estate of the realm, as people that also put expression into the freedom of expression of all people. The press represents our freedom of expression. So if that be the case, then it shows that they have not done well in that respect nationally. But globally, we've seen where the attacks and repressions and detentions and killing of journalists is obviously because the people there, they've stood up to speak to the authorities and speak to the
Now, you made mention about speaking to the authorities, looking at the likes of Jamal Khashoggi's murder. Now, that came as a big shock that made all of the headlines, and we saw all of the reports that came, and we saw the final conclusion. Yes, he was speaking directly to the government. But when you look at the likes of Jones Abiri as well as Samuel Ogundipe, not even forgetting Delegiwa as well, these are individuals who stand in the face of government of the day and speak.
Yeah, part of the celebration today is to is to bring to fore these responsibilities, one. Two, to also protect journalists against such negatives. Then thirdly, to celebrate those of them.
But do you remember
those
Jones
who have died.
was
yes, I remember,
for 2 years, it wasn't released.
In the
exactly.
SSS, DSS underground cell. Yes. It's part of the repression, we say. But what we say is, that's one very insignificant one I want to say. It's a challenge to journalists in the country. Not that they're not doing much. The environment here has been so repressive that they seem to have acquiesced and capitulated. If not, what we see today, that we expect the press to speak, and it's not happening.
If I get you clearly, now, are you trying to say that the Nigerian media or the Nigerian journalist is the dog that just barks and can't bite? Talking about checks and balances and serving as the fourth estate of the realm.
Yes, I'm not sure in terms of performance and dealing with that, I can't score them average on that. But that is not to remove the fact that they are now operating a very unusual and difficult
What
condition.
do you think could be the cause of this, and how do we change the narrative?
Yeah, first of all, there should be unity with there doesn't seem to be unity with the body of journalists. Secondly, I think the welfare of journalists is also very, very, very neglected. That you hear of salaries not being paid to journalists and tools that should make them to work effectively are not provided. So what do you have? You have jobs done. But so what, first of all, journalists are expected to fight for is to fight for the welfare of the journalists, so that no journalist is owed salaries, allowances. When they have that, then there will be independence of mind for them to carry out the true work of journalism, which is, apart from reporting, writing, also investigation, to balance reports as well. But what you see today, because of challenges, to even get the balance, the other part of the views of a particular report is a challenge to journalists, so that they don't even get. So the journalists speak the only language of government. It's not that journalism must be anti-government, but that because they are the fourth estate of the realm and they represent the people, they should be able to tell government what happens to the people. So all you see is press releases from the government, or at the press interview, the journalists don't even seem to ask the relevant questions that people want. Rather, it is kind of a pander to the authority, to the people in power.
Are you making references to our state and federal media, or you would also say that private media houses that are being owned or have shareholders as politicians and other state or federal actors as well fall under this category?
We cannot generalize totally. The private media has come to bring some verve, some professionalism to the business, where there's independent opinion, where there is more work by the journalist, rather than speak the language and put spin of the government, the owners of the media, to their reportage. The private media is coming up with the other view, the other side of the story. But it has been a great challenge for them, if you ask me, because sometimes their businesses are threatened and their journalists are also threatened and harassed. That is not to say that I don't want to be taken on the wrong premise. I think the journalists in Nigeria, they have so much more to do.
Talking about so much more to do now, you've raised certain flags, and Nigeria ranked 13 out of 14 countries in the 2018 Global Impunity Index released by the Committee to Protect Journalists. Now, we still have the likes of Bayoyu, we still like Eneche Akogu, Tunde Oladipo, Zakaria Issa, Delegiwa. All of their deaths still remain a mystery, and you're asking for more. To what extent do you think this call to service is a little bit far-reaching, especially understanding our climes here?
Yeah, like I've said initially, yeah, the environment is very difficult. It's very challenging for journalism. But you either be a journalist or you are not. Because it's a professional calling. And one will not expect that they should face the bullet, the man with the gun. I think there should be a different approach to also creating a balanced reportage without being confrontational or combative with the...
There's no, you practice journalism and you wouldn't be confrontational.
No, it doesn't have to be. Reporting the truth, except we're saying that we're in an environment today where doing the right thing is wrong.
Anomaly.
It's an aberration. So, but we think that the truth speaks for itself.
Okay.
So you creating and quoting sources and credible sources of information.
But if you said the truth should speak for itself, now to what extent was the word to Nigerian authorities as well, looking at investigation into the killing of all of these journalists, numbering as much as 10, and we've still not had justice served. So one would be quick to say that if these situations go unattended to, where lies my security? Where lies my insurance?
Yes, it's quite unfortunate that is what it is. We still believe that it's a matter of time and phase. The truth about these killings, these expositions, this harassment of journalists locally and globally, the truth will come to fore sometime, and the truth will comfort some stakeholders in that area. Talking about the killing of Khashoggi, you think that the case is over? No, the current government may be able to douse it, close it down, but time will tell. Time in future we'll get to know. Delegiwa's case is not...
Over 3 decades.
Yes, the truth will be told someday. The truth will be told someday. So, like you said, we are number 13 out of 14.
Exactly.
It shows the impunity of the system, the challenging and difficult environment which Nigeria journalists operate. That's the indices where they are not free to carry out their duties.
That's why I'm asking, in these areas of abuse and impunity, how then do we address this? Will you say we should have stronger investigations, or you say that until we see some convictions, then we can be able to breathe a sigh of relief?
No, we don't. We cannot just keep our fingers crossed. Journalism must go on. The duties of the press must continue to be carried out. But what we'll say here is that they should be more circumspect. Like I said, find a way that does not seem to be combative or confrontational. And one of the ways I think in doing that is to create a balanced reporting. So if the government says this and puts a spin to a particular matter, and you come up with it with credible information and sources, no matter how much the government is unhappy with it, they may not be able to dispute the information.
Talking about fairness and balance now, that's one of the issues that we've had so far, where we've seen certain reports come out as somewhat propaganda, and those have come under harsh criticism. But to what extent now do you expect the Nigerian journalists to be circumspect, to be objective, to be the voice of the people in today's world where we see black and we somewhat call it gray? You say we should be subtle in our approach, but how do you remain objective yet subtle?
It's not an impossibility. It's not something that is rocket science that cannot be done.
Because irrespective of presenting a balanced report, you still step on some toes, because you are revealing, you are unveiling, you are bringing to the fore the truth.
You can have an information that you want to put in the public domain, and before you do that, you're going to confirm, isn't it, as journalists, from the sources, even from the government, if it's something that is going to be kind of in opposition or confrontation to the government. I have this information. What is your reaction to it, isn't it? And the government says, don't do that. The information is not lost. you keep your information, and like we see in some cases here, the government goes to raid those offices that have such information.
Exactly,
So,
just like looking at SARS also arresting Samuel Ogundipe for asking him to release his source, and then the whole pressure, and then the next thing we hear was unlawful possession of certain documents.
We must test this.
You know, we are always quick to waive this this secrecy or this silence, just sweep it under the carpet, turn a blind eye.
That's the impunity that we are talking about, isn't it? If there is rule of law, as it were, and the implementation and the domestication of the FOI Act, I think it will reduce the work that the journalists take to do this, so that if you apply for it and you are not given and you sue for it, as it were, the Act provides for that whoever does not release such information is liable to conviction.
But let's be fair with ourselves.
But we must go. So until we go through that process, test the Act. But we don't seem to want to test the Act, because we are all coming out with the news today, the news for today, for yesterday, the news for today, yesterday. So I think that these things are there. We must test the Act. How many times have we had press people? You ask for information, you are denied. Did you go to court? And also, yes, we have issues with our environment, but we must test these things. One victory, one success in that area will go a long way.
So we should continue pushing the boundary. But in the area of public expenditure as well now, we see that the implementation of the FOI comes with a whole lot of challenges, or some toes would definitely be stepped on. How then do you think moving forward we should be able to maneuver around this field?
You have information you're looking for. You have a part of the information you want to confirm from the government, and you apply through the FOI bill, right? Mm-hmm. And you are not granted, you are denied that information. You report that. So the government, you did not report the government for. You said this is what you have found out, and this is what you're looking at. They say that just like the press will say, we waited for feedback from whoever we're supposed to get information from to confirm, to give a balance report. As at the time of going to the press, we haven't heard from them. Okay. So but we must continue to put this in the fore to show that the efforts are going on. It's not going to end this way, but the more you push, like you said, pushing the frontiers, the easier it will get, and the closer will be to success and achieving the desired objectives.
Okay, talking about pushing the boundary now, we see how much technology is evolving and also helping with the dissemination of information. That has also led to unveiling a bigger menace, which is fake news. Now, with this rising tide of fake news, dissemination of disinformation, propaganda out there, who takes the fall for all of these that we see on social media? Because beyond every truth, there's always 2 or 3 other different sides to the story, misrepresented, some would say.
Social media.
These are not practicing journalists.
Yes, social media is not press. It's not media. It's not press.
But everybody's quick to pick their phones.
Yes. Now, it happens. For the difference between social media and the professional press or journalists is this: you see an incident, because you are not trained, because you don't understand that, like everybody with their hand devices. You send it into the
But do you
the
think
space.
this would happen if we had authorities, institutions that were reliable, quick to push out information? Because if you also remember, the army at one time said that there shouldn't be any releases of reports of casualties from all of the attacks that we've had so far. But if the army is not giving us that information, and we have some local sources or some source there, you push that information out there. So what's also your call to institutions in Nigeria to be readily available with information, put it out there so that you don't give room for speculation?
No, we are in a situation where the current government is not a respecter of the rule of law. So that be the case, that is why you can have the Nigerian military or the other security arms coming to Armstrong with this kind of tactics against the press. It's something which we're going to speak to, something to put on the front burner to make them realize that if you don't give out this information, it surely comes out one way or the other. And it's quite challenging that the professional press, they have a lot of responsibility and obligations in that regard. But with social media, no responsibility. So you put it up and let them, they even at that glaring truth, they still deny. But the truth is there. It's in public speech already, whether it came from the mainstream media or from the social media. But what we continue to do is to continue to talk about these issues. That is why this World Press Freedom Day is celebrated annually, to continue to deal with such issues. That it came up today as part of the theme for this year is because it's something that needs to be talked about. And the more we continue to talk about it and put it in the front burner, it's obvious that someday we will all get aware and informed by even those in government, to the extent that we will now realize the responsibility of churning out information as they should be, as responsibility to inform the people through the press. I think we cannot force it right now. From the indications, we are very far in the indices of performance in terms of press freedom. But it's something, like I said, we should not face the man with a gun, but we'll continue to find new approaches, new ways to continue to create awareness and understanding in the minds of these people, so that they will appreciate the need for the dissemination of such information.
Let's talk about the practice of investigative journalism now. We don't have so many in that field within Nigeria. What do you expect this time around moving forward?
Investigative journalism is a part of journalism as well. You know, at a time, you would think that journalists are generically, everybody is there's a specialist in all fields. So there should be certain areas where you have professionals in certain fields of knowledge coming into that space and carrying out such
just like looking at the report on codeine and bringing out the ills within the pharmaceutical industry as well. That was a tremendous effort. I believe you would want to see much more than that. And
you see, when it comes out that way, the press gets the accolades. Okay, if they came up with when they came up with it and it was very clear, the government, even though they acted immediately, even though they took such rash and harsh decisions, they acted. And I must tell you, no matter what, it reduced the abuse of those drugs, as it were, the others, the codeine and all the others. It reduced it, and it brought to the fore. Parents and the public became more aware of it, where it was being done in secrecy before. So such reports being done by professionals, it's difficult for you to be an investigative journalist.
But you need to have a whole lot of resources back in this effort as well.
Yes, because
not too many media houses have all of those.
There's no specialization in it right now. We need specialization in it. You cannot be a reporter, okay, and at the same time an investigative journalism, or also a writer. So if you have people who are like it's a certain media houses, you have people who are into investigative journalism with projects. It's expensive, taking a whole lot of time, logistics, and it's expensive. But it's the business we will have to do. So no matter how difficult it is, maybe we should start with a step. Sometimes when I listen to the reports on your channel, I'm happy to listen to such reports that somebody is doing a bit of research. And I said, and I liked it. I said, it's what you don't see much in now. All we do is reporting news without research. But on 2 or 3 occasions, when I watched the channel, I see some reports that showed that there was a lot of research
Well, that puts
done.
a smile on my face. It's a pat on the back. And this is where we take a quick break. When we come back, we'll definitely bring you plenty more. We are focusing on today's celebration, World Press Freedom Day. Stay tuned.